This is a question that comes up every now and then. Should atheists celebrate quasi-religious holidays? Or holidays that used to be religious but really aren't anymore? Or holidays that the religious claim? I don't know how much we're going to touch on that today. We're just going to get a religious take that is clearly ignorant and laughably obtuse. So pretty much it's just another day. So stay tuned. There's always a problem doing holiday-themed videos because I have a very long lead time, and most people are putting out holiday videos around the holiday, whereas I would have had to make my response video about 2 months earlier for it to show up on the channel in a timely fashion. And it's not like I never do it. I did that Mike Winger thing whining about Santa Claus a while back, but generally I try not to. Except right now I am, and I'm actually writing this on Christmas Eve, if you want to know. So, should atheists celebrate religious holidays? Let's go take a look.
Hi everyone, the Education Grandpa here with you today.
Hey Gramps. Sadly, I don't think you're going to be seeing anything educational because if you look at his shirt, he's a Christian, and Christians, at least when talking about religious subjects, they tend to be dumb as shit, let's be honest. Now, I don't know yet, but that's what my impression is, borne out by hundreds and hundreds of apologist videos that we've done over the years. So, strike that. That might be unfair, and until I see otherwise, I'm going to try to keep an open mind. So please, good sir, educate us. Let's see what you got.
Just bringing you a Christmas greeting, Christmas message, and I'm going to go after this message and present it from a different perspective. I'm going to go after it from the position of an atheist.
Then you probably need to change your shirt. Okay, some of this is just the visual, which granted, people like Matt Dillahunty, they have a Jesus hat that they'll put on, so at least they look the part, and at least you know what they're trying to do. But I'm not going to insist on anything like that because, hey, that's kind of silly. Besides, I doubt that he has any atheist-appropriate clothing, and I don't either. I mean, I had a shirt once, my wife had it specially made, way back before we were married, that said, I think, therefore I'm an atheist. But that's been gone for a very long time. I generally don't bother, and I don't think it's important. As I've said before, if the religious would just bugger off and leave normal people alone, I would never bring up my atheism ever again. I don't feel the need to advertise. I just live my life as I please and am not out to deconvert anyone else necessarily. I'll point and laugh, but that's about it. So let's all play make-believe that he's not wearing that shirt and let him make the video from the perspective of an atheist. And I bet he doesn't know what the hell that means.
Or the non-religious person who just wants to ignore the stories and teachings of Scripture as I believe is truth.
Are you going to let us know when you're going to pretend to be an atheist? Because atheists don't believe the shit in the Bible. This is, I'm predicting, going to be like so many other apologists who say, I'm going to be an atheist, or I was once an atheist, and then prove unequivocally that they have no clue what atheists are, what atheists think, or anything about atheism at all. These people are just ignorant, which is why we know that these people were never really atheists at all, or at least never critical thinking, skeptical atheists, because we would never say any of this at all. But okay, clue us in when you're going to start pretending, because I think we have to take that claim with a handful of salt, or a barrel full, I don't know. Because these people are never that bright, are they?
So if that's the position that an atheist takes, this raises a dilemma, particularly with their celebrations of the major holidays of Christendom.
It doesn't bother me, because whether you like it or not, Christmas, since that's what he's really talking about here, although we can say the same thing about Easter or pretty much anything else as well, but those holidays haven't been primarily religious holidays forever. They might be for you, but for general society, they are entirely secular. This is something that bothers the religious, but demonstrably it's true. Santa Claus, flying reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, presents, trees, none of that has anything at all to do with the fables in the Bible. Go into any store around Christmas and look at the decorations that they have for sale. How many have anything to do with Christianity? None. Let's be charitable and say virtually none, since there might be some angel tree toppers or something. There might be a nativity scene on the bottom shelf gathering dust because nobody buys it. Because society doesn't celebrate Christmas religiously, at least by and large. It is purely secular, and atheists can celebrate secular holidays just fine, thanks. So, was that all you had to say, or should we stick around and see you come up with something different?
Instead of celebrating the reasons and historical origins of the holidays, atheists tell me they just substitute stories in place of that.
I don't care about any stories. I do it because that's what the society that I happen to live in does. I get the day off work, just like Thanksgiving and a bunch of other holidays. I spend time with my family and give gifts and generally just relax and have a good time. That's what Christmas means to me. If you don't have kids at home, and I don't anymore, then all of the other stuff, the Santa Claus and all that crap, that just goes away. That's the fun stuff that you do for the sake of your children, nothing more. I have a feeling he's going to read a lot into it, and we'll address it when he does, but that's simply not impressive. He has no clue, and right now as I'm writing this, he has 19 downvotes and 0 upvotes, and he's getting trashed in the comments because he's an idiot. Not exactly a surprise there, is it?
In other words, the cultural part of it takes precedence. For example, inserting Santa and flying reindeer instead of Jesus, in my mind, is still celebrating a Christian holiday.
And you're wrong. I'm guessing he's going to talk about St. Nicholas, but that's not what the modern mythology around Santa Claus is. This goes back to the Coca-Cola Santa, which was really taken from the night before Christmas, dating back to 1822. The modern version of Santa has nothing at all to do with religion. So I'm just going to stop you before you get going, even though it's not going to help, since I still have to just respond to whatever nonsense he's going to spew. So go ahead and get to it, and we'll just laugh.
Whether it's admitted or not. Inserting Easter bunnies and eggs instead of addressing the true meaning of Easter in Resurrection Sunday is still celebrating the Christian holiday of Easter.
No, it's not. If anything, it's celebrating pagan mythology, since that's really what Easter is. Christianity just kind of co-opted it, just like they did for Christmas and other holidays. Now, there is some question about just how much they stole versus it just being a convenience that they borrowed dates that were already being used for celebrations by pagan cultures, but it's not like they picked some demonstrable historical dates of substance to Christianity. It wound up being all about solstices and traditionally pagan celebrations, and that really can't be overlooked. Not that I think this guy is at all conversant in anything outside of his own ridiculous faith, so let's get back and see if he can justify any of this. And I wouldn't be holding my breath.
Well, celebration of a Christian holiday without Christ is like celebrating a birthday without a birth.
Births are demonstrable. Your stupid religion isn't. Granted, I doubt he cares at all, nor do I think he could speak intelligently about anything regarding his religion, but that's pretty standard fare, isn't it? We're not celebrating a Christian holiday. My dog was born on December 25th. I can prove that. That doesn't mean that you are celebrating my dog's birthday because you are going to church that day. You can have multiple holidays that happen to coincide, and he doesn't seem to understand that. The secular Christmas that most people celebrate has nothing at all to do with your fantasy beliefs. You are going to have to get that through your head. At least try.
You'd have to submit an alternate meaning to that day.
No, you don't. I can have whatever meaning I want or no meaning at all. It's my choice, not yours. I could declare tomorrow National Throw a Party Day, and that would be all the meaning that I would need. This is clearly another Christian who can't imagine that everyone isn't just like he is, but we're not. We are nothing like you. Christmas, as far as I'm concerned, is just spending time with my friends and family and giving them presents and enjoying their company. No gods required. In fact, if I look around the house right now, there are no depictions of anything remotely religious anywhere. No Santa Claus either, although there probably are some on the wrapping paper. I don't remember, but that's completely irrelevant. I just looked at the stuff on the mantle, and no Santa Clauses there either. Snowmen? Yes. Some trees? Yes. A couple of reindeer too. Nothing referring to anything even conceivably religious. So you're just wrong.
So what does the atheist say then to his or her children once they're grown?
Don't ask me. Mine moved out a while back. I shipped them a bunch of presents across the country because I'm a nice father, but what should I say? My kids figured out that Santa wasn't real long before they were adults. It would be pretty sad if they didn't. Now they're just spending time with their own friends and family on the other side of the country. If and when they have kids of their own, they can decide if they want to tell them about Santa or anything else, because that's their job, not mine, not yours certainly. Because remember, I didn't tell them that Santa was real. That was their friends in school. I just went along with it because, hey, it was fun. They enjoyed it, and that's really all that matters. It's the same reason that they got money when they lost teeth. We didn't indoctrinate them into the tooth fairy. They learned about that from others. We just went along with it because it was fun, and they got some money to spend, and it didn't bother anyone when they stopped believing, and they figured that stuff out on their own. It was something that they were always going to grow out of. Maybe you should try that with your own bullshit beliefs. Wouldn't that be nice?
Once they realize the alternate stories that they were presented for these holidays are mere myths in their mind.
You don't have myths that matter. My kids didn't depend on Santa Claus. They figured out that it was fake pretty early on. The only thing that they were potentially worried about was still getting the same number of presents, and once they saw that they were going to get them regardless of whose name was on the tag, they stopped caring. Most kids are like that. They are attached to the belief so much as they are to the benefits of holding that belief. And the same goes for gods. Most people don't care that much about the gods that they pretend to follow, and they really only are after what that god can supposedly give them. They're in it for the feels, not the reals. I really think that the religious, a lot of them anyhow, are really only in it for the mythology. It sounds exciting, and they don't really care if any of it is true, so they just believe irrationally and assume that everybody else is just like they are. Except we're not. We're just not. These people are complete idiots.
I can hear it now. Mom, Dad, if Santa and the Easter Bunny are not real, why are we still celebrating the holidays that are based on those characters?
Because we never celebrated those holidays based on those characters. Those are in addition to, not to the exclusion of. My wife and I still celebrate, and like I said, no Santa anywhere. No mention of Santa has been made this year at all, except here in the video. Oh, right, and we're going to watch a bunch of the old Rankin Bass cartoons tonight, because that's kind of a Christmas Eve tradition. So there will be a little bit of Santa there, but it's just nostalgia. It's not that we actually believe any of this crap. We've got family coming tomorrow. We're going to enjoy our time together, exchange presents, probably watch some movies, stuff like that. On Saturday, we're going out to lunch with my sister, and we're going to be doing it all over again. We're pretty much the only ones around who still send out Christmas cards to our family, and no, there's no Santa Claus on those either. Yet, we do it year after year after year because we're kind of old-fashioned that way. This has nothing at all to do with myths, either Santa or Jesus. It's just a way to enjoy time with our families and friends. This really can't be that hard to understand, can it?
Their parents would have to say, yeah, they're myths. But then what about the holiday? Well, don't atheists already agree the virgin birth and resurrection are myths themselves? Then why celebrate the holiday based on myths?
Because you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. That's not exactly a surprise, is it? He's got this idea in his head that is absolutely wrong, yet he can't let it go because he has no reason to make the video otherwise. This is really common among the religious. As I keep saying, they can't imagine that everyone else isn't just like they are. They celebrate Christmas based on their own myths, so they assume that everybody else has to be the same. But we're not. We're just not. Holidays, at least the major ones where everybody gets the day off work, they're a time for family. They're a time for fun. No myths required. Just because there is sometimes a children's story involved, that doesn't mean we take any of it seriously. Children grow out of their childhood myths, just like Christians should grow out of theirs. So why don't they? Because they refuse to ever grow up. If my kids at their current ages, if they still believed in Santa Claus, I think there was something really wrong with them. Normal, mature adults don't believe this stuff. So, Christians, go look in the mirror and figure out what the hell is wrong with you, because obviously, something clearly is.
Why not simply celebrate the myths they avoid rather than push the narratives of secularized meanings of the holidays in question?
Myths have absolutely nothing to do with it. I can see that I'm going to spend the rest of this video just repeating this point because the religious just can't get it through their heads. They are not interested in reality. They're only after their own fifis and faith, but outside of their silly little cult, we're not. We're just not. We've got better things to do with our lives. Christmas is a federal holiday that we get off work. Hell, I get all next week off because my boss, way back when he started this company in the 1980s, he and his family used to go skiing the week after Christmas, and it's kind of become a tradition for the company to just have a free paid week off while business is slow. Today, we're wrapping up the last couple of open contracts before everybody goes off for vacation for a week. If we can get it done early enough, then maybe everybody can just go home around 1, maybe 2 at the latest. And that'll be nice too.
Adults should be honest, even if the implications of their honesty surrounding the holidays is really discomforting.
I am very honest, painfully so sometimes. However, we all tell little white lies as social lubricant, especially to children. The whole Santa Claus thing is just for fun, just like the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and leprechauns and unicorns and stuff like that. Why? Well, because it often produces desirable results. Some people won't admit it, but telling kids about Santa Claus does encourage good behavior. If you think you might get on the naughty list and not get presents, you try harder to be good. Belief in the Tooth Fairy encourages good dental hygiene. It also encourages creativity and the imagination of the child. It also, if you do it right, can encourage rational thinking and asking questions. They will reach a point where they start to see the cracks in the story and start trying to work out for themselves all of the problems, and that's a powerful developmental stage in their lives. That's how you get stronger critical thinking skills. No wonder the religious are so dumb, because they've never been through any of that.
Atheists want their cake and eat it too. Wish that was easy for all of us to do.
You're the one doing it because you simply don't understand what atheists, by and large, I think, are doing. Granted, I've never interviewed a large number of atheists and asked them about their holiday celebrations. So if you'd like to share down in the comments what you do, that's probably about as close as we're going to get. This isn't the first time that I've heard this crap from the religious, not by a long shot, because I think they have some serious misconceptions about atheists. We're just the imaginary boogeymen that they invent in their heads after all. They have no clue what we're really like because they are afraid of us. That's why they spend so much time talking about us, but never to us. Whereas I spend a lot of time talking directly to Christians, so I know what they're actually like, plus the fact I used to be one of them myself. I don't have to make this stuff up like the religious do. Then again, I live in the real world and they sadly do not. How pathetic is that?
But especially on birthdays, they like to have it that way. Here's what I mean by that. On our birthdays, we had nothing to do with our conception or our birth. We were just there.
Yeah, so? You have nothing to do with anything related to the mythical Jesus. You weren't even there. We can't even show the event happened at all. What's your point? They don't really have one, they just really like the idea, but they never have the rational wherewithal to step back and examine their own beliefs critically. And that's a terrifying notion for them, right? No, it just has to be true because that makes them happy. But there is no evidence whatsoever that any of it ever happened at all. Whereas I can prove I'm real. I can prove other people are real. We know when they're born, and we can celebrate that if we wish. It's just part of the culture, nothing more. We don't have to, we can choose to, but we know that these events happened. We can prove it. And that's just how cultures work, and it's not exactly a surprise that he doesn't understand that. I didn't found the country either, but I still have people over for a good turkey dinner on Thanksgiving. This guy really has no brain, does he? Not that that's really a surprise.
Not our choice. So did the stork then bring atheists into the world?
No, because the stork is just another cultural myth that adults, rational adults, don't believe. It really exists because a lot of parents are uncomfortable talking to their children about sex. Where do babies come from? That just strikes fear into their hearts, and they just make shit up, and that's one of the things that's been a go-to answer for thousands of years. In fact, in some versions of Christianity, storks are a symbol of new home and new life, and some folklores tell stories of storks delivering Jesus to Mary. It's like these people don't know how fucking works. This actually predates Christianity, though, because Greek myths tell the story of Hera turning her rival Joanna into a stork who flew away with her newborn child. This kind of stuff is very, very common out there. We didn't make it up, and I'd be surprised if any adult atheist actually believes this stuff is true. That tends to be the realm of the religious, doesn't it?
I mean, if our individual lives are real to the atheist, then why not the baby Jesus' life real to his parents?
If there was a baby Jesus, then I'm sure that he was real to his parents. So what? I am not his parent. I care about the evidence, and there is no evidence for a real Jesus. Learn to deal. Because this is where the religious tend to have a lot of problems. They are emotionally attached to their own mythology, and they can't dare question if it ever happened. This is not a rational process. This is an emotional one. I have no emotional attachment to any of this crap. So I actually look at the evidence, and sadly for the religious, there just isn't any. So I'm certainly not going to celebrate a holiday based on a mythic character, at least not as an adult. So what the hell is your excuse?
Or maybe the stork brought him too.
That's actually a Christian myth, as I said. Didn't know if he was going to make a joke about it, but there you go. I bet he isn't aware that storks play into the birth narrative in some Christian conceptions, but I doubt he cares about that either. It's just people who ought to be adults being terrified of the concept of fucking. What the hell else is new?
I have an idea for the atheist that enjoys substituting alternate meanings, the special days. Drop the birthday and refer to it as Stork Day.
We don't believe in storks. I mean, as birds, yes, they're real, but seriously, does he think we actually believe that storks bring babies? What the hell is wrong with these people? This is not really that uncommon, and it springs, I think, from the fact that they can't imagine that everyone isn't just like they are. This isn't just a religious problem either, although that doesn't make it okay. Everyone is an individual, and each individual decides how they want to react to things, and generalizing usually doesn't get you anywhere. So I think we're all a little guilty of that by necessity, but some people just go way the hell too far. Well, if you're not just like me, then you're wrong, so there. Got any evidence for that? No, but you're just wrong. It's really why I've unsubscribed from any atheist channel that shoves politics into the mix. I'm not watching you for the politics. I might come back if you learn to focus. Otherwise, there are plenty of other things to consume. I wrote about that on the blog a while back. If anybody's interested, you can go look that up. So anyway, we're going to stop right here for the week. I figured this would be a one and done video, but there was just way too much concentrated stupid for me not to comment on all of it. As I said, he's already getting universally downvoted and destroyed in his own comments, and at the moment, he hasn't responded to anyone. That's when you know that you're really looking at an idiot. He can't combat his own stupidity, and he's not even making any excuses. He's just hiding, and that's hardly a surprise. So until we wrap this up next time, and I promise we're going to wrap it up next time, don't be like Gramps here. This is just embarrassing. But that's religion for you, isn't it? These people really aren't that smart. Should you celebrate religious holidays? I mean, you do you, I guess. Most of these holidays haven't been religious forever. Not that the religious can get that through their heads. So let's hunker down and see what an old fart has to say, because we haven't had our daily dose of comedy. Or insanity, I guess. These people simply never learn, do they? Not ever. Let's get back to Gramps as he tries to convince us to celebrate his silly religious holiday, and everybody else just laughs their asses off. Because he's not likely to get there by just spouting nonsense, and I suspect that's all he's able to do. I guess we'll have to see for part 2, right? Because it is ever so simple to rip this nonsense apart. I guess we have to bite the bullet and let him continue and see if he's got anything of substance to say. Signs point to no, but I guess we'll just have to see.
It's more inclusive, especially to the secular masses.
But here's the thing. I don't give a damn about inclusivity. I care about reality. This is just an appeal to emotion, which is all the religious are ever doing, and I couldn't care less. Now, if you remember from the last video, he was trying to rename birthday into Stork Day by embarrassing himself and thinking that atheists believe that babies are brought by storks? That's stupid, but, religion. We'll overlook it, at least until he doubles down on his stupidity, and since we don't know that yet, not having seen him do it yet, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. So screw inclusivity, let's deal with reality, and get back to the video.
Your kids will totally understand your consistency on this part. Explain away where babies come from by simply using the stork.
And there he goes. But I was never really nervous about explaining reality to my kids. I'm not trying to explain anything away, and you shouldn't be either. Now, you don't go into the detail with young kids because they can't handle it, but you don't just make shit up either. Because guess what? You have a responsibility to raise intelligent, rational, critical thinking children who can handle themselves in verifiable reality. Your comfort doesn't mean a damn. Let's learn to deal, okay? That's really why it was my kids that were upsetting the apple cart at school. We got called in numerous times when our kids made the other kids cry because they just told the truth. My response was always, Well, maybe you need to educate these children to deal with reality. And the teachers kind of went, okay, maybe we should do that. Because my kids weren't doing anything wrong. They were just asking questions and expecting intelligent responses. Eventually, most of the rest caught up, I suppose, but that's just the way it goes. Of course, you'd never be able to do that on some topics today, but